From hyperspace to warp drive and beyond, faster-than-light travel has been a staple of science fiction for nearly a century, and Transformers is no exception. This week we're looking at the technology that allows the Autobots and Decepticons to pierce the space-time continuum and travel between planets in the blink of an eye. The Space Bridge. Space bridges are a form of Cybertronian transport system, which allow Transformers to quickly and easily travel vast distances between planets, solar systems, even entire galaxies, by generating portals that cut across interdimensional unspace, the void of nothingness that exists outside of normal space and time. The term space bridge is alternately used to refer to both the machines that create these portals and to the portals themselves. They've taken many forms throughout Transformers history. They can be small enough for individuals to simply walk through, or huge orbiting structures large enough to transport entire spacecraft. Certain Transformers even possess the ability to generate bridges with their own bodies. Space bridge travel is generally quite safe, but misuse of it can be catastrophic, and has been known to result in travelers being warped to unintended locations, becoming lost in the interdimensional void, and even blasted into entirely different dimensions. Space bridges have been a part of pretty much every major Transformers series in some form or another, but exactly how they operate and how they fit into the story has changed and evolved over time. The concept was invented by the story editors of the original 1980s Transformers animated series, Bryce Malek and Dick Robbins, as a way to easily involve the Transformers homeworld Cybertron in the cartoon's predominantly Earth-based stories, without the need for lengthy space trips. Introduced in the first episode of the show after its pilot miniseries, the Space Bridge was invented by the Decepticons and allowed them to travel freely between Earth and Cybertron, as well as transport energon cubes made on Earth back to their energy-starved home planet. Occasionally, it was employed for much grander feats, including transporting Cybertron itself into Earth's orbit. In order to function, the bridge required installations to be constructed on both planets, one in the Decepticons' headquarters on Cybertron, shaped like an elevator, and one on Earth, which took the form of a large metal ring above which the portal opened. Due to the constant movement of the two planets, the precise time and location at which the bridge could be opened on Earth was always changing, requiring the Earthbound Decepticons to regularly relocate and rebuild their end of the bridge. Early episodes of the series presented the bridge as unstable, requiring a transport vehicle and a driver to safely ferry cargo across it. And though it would become more reliable as the series progressed, rendering this unnecessary, mishaps did occur, such as when a malfunction sent a group of Transformers to an alien world of giants. The Autobots didn't have a space bridge, and often had to hijack the Decepticons if they ever needed to go to Cybertron. But by the time of the Japanese original sequel cartoon, Transformers The Headmasters, they had finally built a bridge of their own, allowing them to travel between Earth, Cybertron, and their new headquarters on the planet Athenia. Though created for the cartoon, the Space Bridge was adapted into the Marvel comic book in early 1986, which took the name a bit more literally, depicting it as resembling an actual suspension bridge. Here, the technology was invented by a neutral scientist on Cybertron named Spanner, who was captured by the Decepticons and forced to share the secret of his invention with them, then forcibly rebuilt so that his body actually became the space bridge. Stories exclusive to the United Kingdom's version of the comic featured the Autobots utilizing an unstable prototype bridge recovered from Spanner's lab. In the comic, the bridge was primarily used to send new troops from Cybertron to Earth. Unlike the cartoon, it was based exclusively on the Transformers' homeworld, and didn't require an installation to be constructed on Earth in order to open a portal between the planets. Though this did mean that those who travelled over the bridge from Cybertron had no way to open it from Earth, and so couldn't return home unless operators on the other end opened it for them. As space bridges have continued to appear in Transformers media after the end of the original cartoon and comic, new series have constantly alternated between these two ways the technology works. In the 21st century, the role of space bridges in the world of the Transformers has changed significantly. Where classic media presented the technology as a new invention, prone to instability with only one or two bridges in operation, today, virtually all new Transformers series have come to depict space bridges as just a normal part of Cybertronian life. A common transportation method that's been in use throughout the planet's history, which have even been built on multiple worlds all across the galaxy to form far-reaching interplanetary networks. In series in the 2000s, like Transformers Energon, Cybertron, and Animated, the bridges were exclusively in Autobot control. The Autobot heroes of Animated in particular were a space bridge repair crew who travelled the galaxy maintaining bridge installations on other worlds. But as the 2000s rolled into the 2010s, it became more common to once again see the technology monopolised by the Decepticons as in the original series, with prominent examples including 2010's Transformers Prime and the 2011 live-action movie Dark of the Moon, which paid homage to the original cartoon by having turncoat Autobot leader Sentinel Prime conspire with the villains to use a huge space bridge to teleport Cybertron into Earth's orbit. Around this time, new series also began to explore new, different origins for space bridges, reimagining them as ancient technology from Cybertron's forgotten past that modern Cybertronians had only recently rediscovered. For instance, in the world of the movies, space bridges originated with the Primes, the legendary first generation of Cybertronians, and their servants, who had the ability to generate them with their own bodies. In IDW Publishing's comic books, this ability belonged to the giant city-sized Transformers, the Titans. The most detailed origin for space bridges was related in the aligned continuity, of which Transformers Prime was part. In this universe, as in the movies, the technology originated with the Primes, but was introduced to modern Cybertronians by the alien Quintessons during their occupation of the planet. The Transformers used the bridges to colonize other planets, leading to a prosperous golden age. But this era came to a tragic end when a plague of cosmic rust forced them to shut the bridges down to stop the spread of the disease, cutting Cybertron and the colonies off from one another, in turn leading to an era of insular, oppressive governance that eventually resulted in the outbreak of the war. The bridges would remain inactive for millions of years, until Decepticon scientist Shockwave reactivated one, which the Transformers then used to flee their dying planet, beginning the journey that would bring them to Earth. This basic premise of the bridges as long disused ancient technology that once linked many worlds has become the definitive modern vision for the space bridge concept, and has influenced most major Transformers media of the last decade, including the Transformers Cyberverse and War for Cybertron cartoons, and IDW's comics, which showed how, after the end of the war, the bridges would re-enter widespread use, reconnecting Cybertron with its lost colonies once more. Now, while space bridges are the most famous method of interdimensional transport, various other forms of technology able to achieve similar effects have appeared throughout Transformers history. Some memorable examples include warp gates from the original cartoon, constructed by humanity and placed at strategic locations in space. Trans-time dimensional portals from the Marvel comic, a more efficient version of the tech that replaced space bridges in the comic's later issues. Quantum jump technology from IDW's comics, which took days to cover what a space bridge could do in seconds. And most famously, transwarp technology from Beast Wars, which allowed users to freely travel through time as well as space. Later series have been known to blur the line between transwarp and space bridges in particular, at times using the terms interchangeably. There have also been scaled-down variants of space bridge technology used to travel from place to place on a single planet. The Autobots of 2001's Robots in Disguise employed the Global Space Bridge, a network of underground tunnels running through Earth that used transwarp tech to rapidly transport them around the globe. The Autobots and Decepticons of Transformers Armada used a form of warp technology that, unlike space bridges, could be remotely activated by travelers to warp them back to their departure point. Perhaps most notably, while the Decepticons of Transformers Prime had access to a functional space bridge, the Autobots lacked sufficient means and energon to construct one, and had to rely on a lesser version of the tech known as a ground bridge, which didn't have the power to bridge planets, but could send them anywhere on Earth, making it one of their most valuable assets in their efforts to thwart the Decepticons' plans. Ground bridges were featured in all of Prime's various sequels and spin-offs, and a network of such portals would also appear in Cyberverse, mystically created by the all-powerful Allspark rather than technologically generated. Powerful Transformers with similar mystic mastery of space and time, like the ancient Vector Prime, have been known to open their own form of dimensional gates across distances large or small, and there are even normal individual Transformers with the built-in power to teleport themselves and others short distances, like the sneaky Skywarp. While their story has grown and changed over the decades, space bridges remain one of the most long-standing, most deeply ingrained aspects of Transformers lore, linking not just Earth and Cybertron, but bridging the past, the present, and the future of our favourite robots in disguise. And those are the basics on space bridges. If you've enjoyed this dive into Transformers history and lore, hit the like button and subscribe for more. Ring the bell to be notified about future episodes, or get early access to them by supporting the series on Patreon.